Yes, it is the Midweek Rub, but it is the finals edition of Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub, exclusive to the Listener app. It's been a wonderful home and away season. We'll touch on the final round shortly, but we can't wait. This is what we live for, Duck. You were the king of September, let's be honest, and it is a great time of year, isn't it, for football fans?
Oh, absolutely. You know what? What about the last round leading into the finals? Didn't we? It was absolutely unbelievable. Loved every bit of it. And I tell you what, Joey.
Yep.
I sat up watching the Geelong-Melbourne game because I thought, minor premiership, I'm big on that.
Yes.
I think it should be rewarded more and applauded more for finishing on top. So I went to bed.
Good article
at
on Friday
at
in the
three-quarter time. I just dawdled up the hallway. I thought, this game's over. And it took me back. To when? What's the greatest one-day game ever here in Australia?
Michael Bevan.
The Michael Bevan boundary against the West Indies.
Correct. So I was at that game with my ex-wife, Sally. Sally and I sitting up there in the stands, best seats in the house. It was about 15 overs to go, and I looked at her, I said, let's go.
Let's go. What were we, 6 for not many
Let's
or something?
go, Dale. We had a nice hotel down at Bondi. I said, let's go. And she said, no, anything can happen. I said, I know sports, sweetheart. So I missed the greatest one-day game of all time and went to bed at three-quarter time. So a little bit disappointed.
Welcome to you, Damo. Did you start and watch the whole last quarter?
Yeah, funny enough, I did. Yeah, and you learn something about Duck every time you speak to him, don't you, these days? Yeah, fantastic round 23. And I just love the pressure that's on certain teams going into this final series. A couple of teams have got it ramped up to 10 or 11 out of 10,
yeah.
And a couple of teams down the bottom have just got next to nothing to lose. You still lose something when you lose a final, don't get me wrong. There's a lot at stake, but in terms of the comparisons with others, it's quite stark, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And Daisy, good to see you, looking fitter by the week, mate.
Yes.
You're excited for finals?
I am up and about, mate. This, as Duck sort of said, this time of year and everything that's going to happen, it's going to be weird. No games in Melbourne, but to have finals played, crowds, there's going to be a game down in Tassie, which I know we'll touch on this later, but the Giants come right into that one because of the weather and the conditions. So there's differences all across. Obviously, the home ground advantage to Port and then other teams playing in Adelaide. It's going to be weird, but it's going to be absolutely fantastic.
I think what we do know from the year we've had, there will be another curveball somewhere in this final series. There will be something that we didn't expect, we didn't see. You can just bet your bottom dollar something like that is going to happen in this final series.
And who stands up? Which player? Who becomes that massive finals player? Can Buddy have a massive series and get the Swans through, to a prelim or something like that? I can't wait.
And it's nice in that neutral sense way
I love that.
of not having Richmond or West Coast part of it too, given they've won the past 5 or 4.
And you know what else? I know, some people might disagree, but I love the fact, other than Port Adelaide, who's going to be at home, I love the fact that they're at neutral grounds. I think that makes it even more even.
Yep.
Don't you agree?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's a different element to it, and we'll touch on the crowds and all that shortly. But you're right about it is legacy month when you think about some of the names. I mean, if Buddy Franklin can steer the Swans to a flag, that puts him in rarefied air.
Yep.
I think Robbie Gray becomes Port Adelaide's all-time greatest player. The only thing missing is next to his name is a premiership.
Yeah.
You've spoken about Marcus Bontempelli. He's under the pump, but he goes, if he can get the Dogs there. And then
can Jake Stringer stand up and get Essendon their first win for a long time
and then
in the final?
And if it's Max Gawn or Petrarca that can all of a sudden become one of Melbourne's greatest ever players by winning
They go into folklore, don't they?
They do.
And Lachie Neale, not being able to get the premiership down alongside his Brownlow last year, can he do it this year?
Yeah, plenty happening. Daisy, hero of the week?
Hero of the week time.
Daisy's hero of the round.
Well, Duck, I'll probably have to explain this to you because you had gone to bed, but Big Maxi Gawn. Not for the fact that he went down there and he was smart enough to go down there on Stanley and just stand where he did when everyone else thought that Lever was going to have a shot. He stood where he did, but he also stood up. When they were out, they were done. As you said at halftime, I was watching along and I thought, geez, how far are he by the Cats? He was the one that got them back into that contest. And just to see how much it meant to the footy club, their first minor premiership since 1964, I think it was, for him to go and have such a big impact. And when you're coming into finals, momentum, confidence is another thing. They're going to fear no one now. 40 points down or whatever it was against the Cats. Come up against anyone in the finals, you're 5-6 goals down. You draw back on that. Whereas conversely, for the Cats, the cracks start appearing from the grand final last year, and then what's happened this year. So to Maxi Gawn, he is the hero of the week because he's put his footy club in A1 position to win the flag.
You say A1. I'll get to your duck dive. I'm going to ask you later on which player for Melbourne is going to be the most important for them in the final series. It's a big question. But just back to Melbourne being in A1, we've spoken, Damo and Duck, about finishing on top. And the record of teams that have finished on top, and 6 in the last 25 years, there's only been one team in the last 10 years. I dug a bit deeper this week. If you look at Melbourne's record, so they've won 8 of their 10 games against other teams in the top 8. 80% record against other teams in the top 8 this year. You think they're in pole position. Going back to 1999, 9 other teams have also had an 80% record against teams in the top 8. Only one of them have won the flag. Wow. That was the all-conquering Bombers in 2000. So even when you defeat all these teams around you in the ladder in the home and away season,
it's a new game.
You finish on top. It is a new game.
It is.
It's a strange anomaly in regards to why this team that's been the best side for the home and away year don't seem to win the flag. It's fascinating. And now Melbourne, as much as I agree with you, they're in the A1 prime spot. They have to defy a bit of history to win it this year.
And even to go back, and I did a little bit of study on this last week, but Port Adelaide during Brisbane's era, they were the best home and away team and got knocked out a couple of times in straight sets.
Yep.
I mean, it's history. You're right. History. You go way back. The Bombers finished on top 3 years in a row. 99, 2000, 2001. Only won the one flag. Yep. So it's very interesting.
I think this season more so than ever, though, your form is more tangible. So if you're in form or you're out of form, like the Bulldogs.
You're talking current form.
Current form.
The streak going into
we
finals.
always expected at some point, the Tigs will snap out of this form slump. The form was their form and they were trailing off. Other teams starting to trend. Yep. That's why I like the D's a lot.
Joey, there is such thing, though, as home and away game plan and final game plan and what stacks up in finals. Under extreme pressure, what game plan? So I think if you overpossess the footy and try to be too cute, that doesn't stack up.
Is that Geelong?
It's got a little bit of Geelong. It can be. If they get it right, they can carve anyone up, as we know. The Bombers, the way they play that really attacking but can be scored against. Yep. Does that stack up? So it's very interesting.
Damo, the footy news, and where would you like to start?
Where do you want to start, Joe?
Because Carlton, I think, for me, still fascinates me the most.
Yeah. It's a moving situation, and it's already moved even in the way the club has approached this particular week, and it's all revolving around the response that they've sought from Alastair Clarkson. It's changed timeframes, it's changed narratives, and it's changed, I think, the way David Teague views himself in that footy club. So he, even as recently as yesterday, was doing player exit interviews with people that he was quite critical of himself, that being his captain, Paddy Cripps, and his post-match conference on the weekend just gone. Also, his manager had a crack at Paddy Cripps. And even that situation is awkward because it wasn't meant to be done that way. The review has been done for some time. The timing of it's been pushed out because they're waiting, as best I read it, Joey, for a final answer, yes or no, from Alastair Clarkson. And that's not an easy situation to wade through when he's got the whip hand.
And he can make a decision whenever he likes, obviously.
So
can I ask them, what are they waiting for? Are you believing that David Teague may continue to coach if Alastair Clarkson says no? So then what are they waiting for with Teague?
I cannot see a way that Teague stays. That's just my take on it, Joey. Everyone's got different views on it. You can all obviously have those views, but they can't put him through this the way they have. I reckon it's already been very poor with how they have handled that aspect of it. And they had two people in their back pocket, one being Alastair Clarkson, in their mind, in their thinking, and the other one being Ross Lyon. But what Ross Lyon has done to his own chances, and I'm really keen to see what he says tonight on his own footy show, Footy Classified, about the impact of his words, talking about the vacancy that he saw existing even though David Teague was there, and people at Carlton now being quite wary about Ross Lyon. Why he left Fremantle. Is he the right person? I think you can rule him out now. The way I'm reading it, the way I'm reading it. Now, that's just my read on it. Yeah. And as such, it's a mess, and it's a board-led mess, which is not the first time a Carlton board has got itself into mess.
How much longer do they string David Teague along then? Because at the minute, that seems like, as a bloke who's just a purely observer of the footy club at the minute, it seems like they, for all intents and purposes, were going to get rid of him after that last game, and now they might not have the answer they wanted from someone in the time frame they wanted, so they're like, well, you can stay along, mate. You can continue to do your exits meetings.
And that's the thing.
What a pick.
I believe it'll be wrapped up by the end of the week. Now, look, as we're talking now, basically midday on Wednesday. It could change in an hour. I mean, there could be an announcement on this. There's meetings down there today. The players are still there again today. Teague's got meetings. Luke Sayers, the incoming president, has got meetings with so many people. One of those meetings might shake out.
I'm telling you, those meetings with players today, Daisy, you can back me up. That'll go in one ear and straight out the other. When you've got a coach talking to you that you know is not going to be there, your player will be sitting there and be like, we're just doing this to tick a box.
Didn't listen too often when they were going to be there, the coaches. But usually it was after a Mad Monday and you'd be sitting there going, yes,
how
I
long this going
understand
for?
what you mean, and I'll try and do better, and I'll make sure my skin folds it down.
That's right. It was always the same chat, wasn't it? Make sure you come back to pre-season in good shape and look after yourself.
But as much as we joke about it, it has become another mess. And we've seen with other football clubs, and the Pies were the example last year with how things transpired in the off-season, then went through the season as well. It just lingers, and the longer you let it linger.
And if what you're saying, Damo, is correct, then how far behind the 8 ball are they going to be?
Yeah.
Given that because they're not interviewing, they haven't interviewed anyone.
And if they get into a situation where, hang on, Clarkson said no, we don't want Ross Lyon. What do we do?
We don't want Teague.
But they do not deserve to have that option because they have mistreated him. They've let him hang, and no one at that footy club supported him when issues were raised in the media, and you need to assume they're accurate because they were not shot down. So let's use that as a basis for this conversation. If they were correct and the club still didn't support him, that's an issue in itself. So they've just let him hang. They've treated him poorly. I don't have an issue with the decision being made. It's just make it in a time frame which is respectful.
The fact that you have to come out as the senior coach, defend yourself, and then have your manager doing it for you rather than anyone at club level, board level, somebody just being in your corner, which is essentially the club's corner. Yep. It's not your corner as the coach. This is what's best for the football club. Come out, support. We'll make a decision. It might not go the way you want. But nobody has done that.
No one. And this is even 4 days after David Teague last spoke publicly, 5 days. So, look, we know what they've been thinking. It's just a matter of how they carry it out and officially sign off on it.
What do you think, Duck, the chances of Alastair Clarkson choosing to coach Carlton are? Your gut feel. I know it's very hard. We're all guessing.
50-50, so I'm sitting right on the fence. I do think that the situation that we're in Victoria, I think goes in Carlton's advantage because I think Clarko's sitting around at home, and like all of us, I mean, you want to get out of the house, you want a place to go, you want to keep your mind active. So him sitting around for the next month, I think that plays in Carlton's favour.
Is there an opportunity for someone to step in at Carlton like they have in the past with a Malthouse and just throw a checkbook at Clarkson and say, what do you want? Because now it is the soft cap, it's not the salary cap. Is there that?
It's dangerous because they're already committed to David Teague's money in the cap next year. So that's that. So you then add the impost of a new person coming in. That's mitigating what you can then spread that spend over. And you're referring to Jeannie Pratt, who's still on the board there. That's the line of questioning.
I think they've got a few people that can afford a bit of.
It's not a matter of what he will be paid, maybe via some input from Jeannie Pratt. It is how it fits in under the books, and that's the issue here. I think you're right in raising it because I believe that has been part of conversations, at least on the fringes, as to how they get Clarkson across.
Yeah, we could chat Carlton all day, Damo, but we want to touch on the finals, the fixture, and possibly an announcement on the grand final. My understanding is I'm hearing probably within the next 48 hours it'll be made official. It seems inevitable that it's going to be Perth. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, as much as anything is inevitable, Joey, before it's announced officially in the COVID era.
We're all spooked by everything these days, aren't
we?
Yeah, we are.
Can't
say anything with certainty.
I think we've felt that for probably a month, and it's been a strong feeling for a fortnight and a very strong feeling in the past week. So, again, the key
Are we
to it
talking
is...
grand final?
Duck, do you concede, Duck, that it won't be in Melbourne?
I'm conceding.
Do you concede that West Coast won't win the flag?
I'm conceding.
And will that mean the bye most likely will be after the preliminary final and give the 2 weeks leading up to the grand final?
That is my belief on how that bye will now...
It's the only spot it can
now
go.
lie.
Really.
I asked Travis All the other day when he was at a press conference, is September 25 still the grand final date? He effectively said yes, as much as you can lock that in. So, but he did then refer to the need for a bye somewhere. And then, to me, it is preliminary. Look, the first part of this, the Victorian government still, believe it or not, just letting you know how it works with these negotiations, is yet to concede, as far as I can tell, is yet to concede. To your point, Duck, that it won't be at the MCG. But look, this is just the way governments work. This is the way the AFL has to negotiate their way through.
Yep. Just quickly, All Australian, Daisy and Rising Star tomorrow. We just want to touch on that. I want to get all of your takes. Give me one player you would love to see, not as obvious, a really obvious one, but a player that's maybe on the fringes you would love to see get in the All-Australian team, and who you think deserves to be All-Australian captain.
I think I'm going to go with Jacob Wiedering. I think he's been fantastic for the Blues. I don't know if you'd consider him an obvious pick, but he didn't get the nod last year when he had a fantastic season, so I'm going to go with him. All-Australian captain.
Save that. We'll go Damo. Is there one fringe player you'd love to see? You hope he makes the team?
Yeah, I really hope Jake Stringer gets in. He's in the 40, and of the people who didn't make the 40, I felt for both Zach Bailey and Brandon Starcevic.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't believe Port Adelaide didn't nominate Travis Boak.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. By the way, you know what I think of the squad? I think it's a load of crap.
You don't like the squad
It's
of 40?
rubbish.
You think that means nothing?
But what's
why
the
even have
nomination
the
got
squad?
to do with it? Don't you have selectors
That's
to
what I mean.
watch football matches?
Why should you have to nominate?
The club not nominating should have nothing to do with it.
That's right. What if
totally
Melbourne
agree.
didn't nominate Clayton Oliver? Like, does that mean they don't put him in?
Absolutely. I totally agree with all of that. I'd like to see a fringe player. I don't think Stephen May's been All-Australian before. Not that he's a fringe player, but I think he'll certainly, he's a lock for me. I think he's All-Australian.
Deserves it, doesn't he?
And do you want me to name the captain?
Yes. Who would you love to see captain?
I think Maxi Gawn.
Yep.
Yeah, Maxi Gawn should be the skipper of the All-Australian side this year.
So there's Bontempelli. Toby Green's one that's been, for some people would love to see Toby Green.
Oh, no,
Just
he's a lock, I
no,
reckon.
but for captain.
Oh, for captain.
Potentially.
Yeah,
Maybe not.
okay.
Do you think Bont holds on to the captaincy?
I did initially, but it's going to be hard to go past Maxi Gawn because that'll be a fifth All-Australian, which is incredible for a bloke who's only just gone past 150 matches and took some time to establish himself. So, and with that role, Joey, as you know, Rance was the captain one year.
Yeah.
They do. I quite like the way they do it. They
Well,
move
Buddy,
around.
Buddy was
been
captain
captain.
last year.
Yeah.
By the way, I thought Buddy was a
before.
little bit lucky to make the squad.
That doesn't go on his resume. He's already got the 8
Yes,
All-Australians.
exactly.
Does Mundy make the side?
I don't think so. Would you love to see
I was
Mundy
going
make it?
I was going to say if he makes it, I'd love to see him as captain.
Oh, there you go.
But he's probably not going to
I'm
make
like
it.
you,
so-
Damo. I'd fall off my chair if Jake Stringer doesn't make the All-Australian team. I think he's been the best player in the competition the second half of the year. And
In
even
the comp.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been
Yeah.
up top 3. He's up there with Petrarca and
His
Oliver
last
and
8
Bont.
weeks. His last 8
Okay.
weeks.
He's
has
the
been
reason
unbelievable.
they're playing finals.
Yeah.
He's catapulted Essendon from being potentially a bottom 4 side of this season to playing finals.
Correct.
Absolutely. He's been enormous. And I think I'm happy to see Bont stay as a captain. He's the best player in the game. I know he's had a poor last
fortnight.
2 or 3
Yeah.
weeks, but let's not hang him on that. His year has been unbelievable. So hope the last few weeks doesn't affect the Bontempelli and the Western Bulldogs. It's now time for this.
On the Midweek Rub, it's time for Duck Dive.
I'm good from the waist down.
Quick 5.
Duck Dive. This is a quick 8 because we're just going to quickly whip through all the 8 teams in the finals. One burning question without notice, except for the Melbourne question, Duck, that I gave you a little bit of notice because I thought it was important. Who do you believe will be Melbourne's most important player in the finals if they're to win the flag? Obviously, there's Petrarca, Oliver, Gawn, May, Lever.
Yeah.
Who's going to have to be the most important for them to win it?
May for me.
Stephen May.
Yep. He takes the best key forward, and if he beats them and plays well, then I think that goes a long way to Melbourne winning.
Hard to argue with. They've built their whole season this year off their defence.
Yep.
It stems from the defence back, and Stephen May's been as critical as anyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm going to go the other end of the ground, probably Ben Brown up forward. So whether or not he can have a
He's
big...
the most important player for Melbourne.
You go back to when they were really good. Yes, their defence were fantastic, but when they had their period where they were no good, they couldn't kick a score. So if you can't kick a score, it makes it very hard to win.
Ooh.
So someone in the forward line, whether it be Brown, Fritsch, one of those two, but I'm going to go with Ben Brown to be...
He's competed really well, hasn't he? He's been
If
really
he
good,
kicks
Ben Brown.
4 or 5 or 4 goals a game, they're
they
going to
win.
go... Yeah,
Yeah.
it's as simple as that. So.
Port Adelaide, I mentioned off the top, if Port Adelaide win it, does Robbie Gray become Port Adelaide's greatest ever player? You can answer that one, or you can answer...
Yeah.
And who is to this point?
Well, I still think it's probably
Treadray?
Treadray.
I think
isn't it?
Treadray.
Still Treadray.
I think Treadray. I think Treadray at the moment. But Robbie Gray, if they won the flag, I think Robbie Gray sits comfortably alongside him.
Yeah, good. I agree.
And he already does, probably.
Yeah, is Charlie Dixon good enough as a key forward to win it for the Power?
Well,
Have you got faith in Charlie Dixon that he can stand up in September?
Well, let's be honest. When he kicks goals, they win. If he kicks 3, Port Adelaide don't
Yes,
lose.
that's right.
That's what the stats tell us.
Yep.
So he's ultra important. He has to stand up. The thing I'll say about when Charlie Dixon's playing well, he doesn't get under the footy. You see him, he gets pushed under the footy, he runs under the footy just far too often for a big, strong guy. So he's ultra important. Yep. Totally agree with that.
Especially without Georgiades.
Yep.
Damo, you mentioned about some pressure for some sides. Well, Geelong are feeling the pressure. 6 wins, 13 losses under Chris Scott. They've lost 7 of their last 8.
That's since 2011.
Since 2011, sorry. Since they won the flag. They've lost 7 of their last 8 first week of finals. If Geelong don't win a premiership this year, what's the fallout, if any, for Geelong and Chris Scott?
Oh, I don't think there's any fallout with Chris
Still don't
Scott.
think there's any fallout?
No, I don't. I mean, they've been the most consistent team that we've had, including Richmond. So no fallout for me. But I think the old fella, if you want to call him the old fella, Paddy Dangerfield, to put the Cats on his back. I mean, his second quarter last week, and I know he got caught on the bench for a long period last week when I was in bed, but I heard when I got up in the morning. But I reckon, for him to put them on his back and win a premiership is huge. So I think he's their most important player, Paddy Dangerfield.
This is his September without Dustin Martin, isn't it? This is Dangerfield's moment, and I think he's got that look in his eye that he is ready. Hey, you spoke about offence before. Brisbane Lions have been the number one offence in the comp since the bye. They've been an offensive juggernaut. Will that prevail in finals against the very best teams, the best defensive teams, kicking a winning score and the biggest scores in the comp? Will it stand up?
Will it? Well, let's be honest. They beat Richmond last year in that first final. So it has stood up. Okay, they didn't go all the way. As we know, it takes a little bit of luck to get through that prelim and then into a granny. So therefore, for me, Joe Danaher's the most important player for Brisbane. Right. Joe Danaher has to hit. He's the only player in the comp that's kicked a goal every single week. But if he kicks 3 or 4, Brisbane win.
Can the offensive style of the Brisbane Lions beat the defensive teams of Geelong and Melbourne?
Which is why I love May, because May will go on to a Danaher.
Yeah.
But he's ultra important.
I think it gets you, as a supporter, you'd want to be on the defensive mindset. I think the way the Lions play can get them somewhere towards the pointiest part of the year, but I don't think
it'll win them a flag.
I don't think it wins them a flag.
Joey, I get the feeling that they feel they are a better team than last year, and they were going to say that whether they made the double chance or finished in 5th. That's how well they think they're going at the moment. They were out in straight sets in 2019. They won that first final last year, lost to Geelong in the prelim. I know internally they're very, very happy with what's happened this year, particularly late.
They are, and so they should be. And it really is, I think we all agree, once you get to a prelim, then it just comes down to a moment, a shot on goal, some accuracy, a bit of luck. So that's all you've got to focus your attention on, and then just making it pay off at the end, so Brisbane are in that situation.
They've got X-Factor players, Brisbane. And if those X-Factor players have big moments and big games, they win.
Yep.
And I'm talking about Charlie Cameron, guys like that.
Zach Bailey, I reckon, is one that's got some X factor that could kick 3 or 4.
McCarthy.
Yeah.
I mean, if they stand up and have big moments, then that can get them all the way.
Duck, question 5, the Western Bulldogs. Have they blown it, their chances of winning a flag, by not finishing in the top 4?
Just their inability to score at the moment. I mean, that's it. Have they blown their chance? I don't have them as winning the premiership this year, no.
So they've blown it.
Yeah.
Does the bye bring the teams that aren't in the top 4 more into contention? So instead of doing the hard roads of 4 weeks straight, you've got to get up, you've got to win, got to keep winning.
Yeah.
You then get through the first 3 and then you get yourself a breather. That's a bit of a
And the problem for the Bulldogs is, for me, is their greatest strength is their midfield.
Yep.
And that hasn't been great the last 3 weeks.
We'll preview the games after this, and we'll have a look to see. But it is.
Having said all that, they lost by 2 points to a very good football team that's finished second.
No, exactly right.
That's right. Yep. The Sydney Swans does have all these kids that have been awesome all year. Can they stand up in finals? What's your feelings or thoughts on kids in finals? Is there a carefree attitude where they've got nothing to lose, or do they get found out generally in finals?
No, well, it can go either way. We've seen kids come in and really perform. Collingwood. Collingwood were a great example back in 10. I think the Bulldogs, obviously, what they did in 16. Sometimes it is they go in and they play free. I think a lot of the time. The toughest, I think, going into finals and expectation is on your superstars, because your superstars, so your Olivers and your Gawns and, like I said, May and Ben Brown, all of your Paddy Dangerfields, they go in and they know. Paddy Dangerfield knows if he plays really well, Cats win. If he plays poorly, they probably lose. That's a pressure that kids don't go in with.
2010, you're obviously quite a young side. What was the feeling? Was it still reliant on your older veterans at that stage, or was it purely you boys just had nothing to lose and it was a carefree, just go for it?
Yeah, it was more you didn't really know what you were missing. It was an opportunity rather than what happens if we don't get it done. So I think, especially for the young Swans kids who haven't played a lot of serious big game football, you go out there and you've got nothing to lose. If it goes bad, well, you probably haven't really thought about that until after. So you go out, you play on instinct, and I think that's what they've done all year. They've also got some great people around that footy club who've had a lot of experience in that domain. So if they need to pick apart or ask some questions, they can be led really well. But the kids just go out and play.
They're the one that I think could surprise for me, Sydney.
Do you think the Giants should pick Stephen Coniglio?
Yes.
Playing?
Yeah, I do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Play your captain. The boys love him. Everyone loves him at the footy club. He's not in bad touch. He came on the weekend, looks good. I'd give him a chance. And he's someone
Where are you going to play him, though?
Well, I don't care if you
You
play
upset the apple cart in the midfield that's been going so well for them with Callum Ward, Taranto, Hopper, De Boer tagging, Lockie Ash going in there.
half forward with some time on midfield, but he's someone who's got pride, he's got passion.
Yep.
He would give everything to not let someone down.
And the last question, Jake Stringer, the Bombers, if they're to do any damage off the back of him, is he the most informed player in the competition right now?
Yep, he is. He's carried them to the finals, Jake Stringer. Unbelievable. He's sent a square work, and then when he goes forward. And you know what else he's done, Joey? Big moments, he's done big things.
Yep.
So when they've been a goal or two down, he's been the one that's kicked the goal or got the centre clearance. He's had a great year, Jake Stringer.
Love it, Duck, love it. Hey, after this, we're going to preview the 4 big finals, and you're going to give us one game of those 4 that you think is a certainty, and we'll just take a look back at our last certainty for the home and away season and how many beers everyone owes. It's now time to take a look at the big first week of finals. But before we do that, we'll just recap on the certainties from last week. And then we're going to see how many beers everyone owes for our Mad Monday, which is going to, I don't know when we're going to do it, but we'll find out. We'll find a time. But let's just take a listen to who got last week wrong.
I'm going to go the Demons to beat the Cats. Top of the table clash.
Very good, Duck. That was a big one. I'm going to go with Sydney to beat the Gold Coast Suns. Good courage, Joey. Went out on a limb there.
I'm going to take the Bombers against the Magpies.
Yep.
Daisy Thomas is the Oracle.
It used to be.
One last chance, Oracle.
Yes. We're not playing that again if you get this wrong, all right?
Shut up, Dave. The Blues will beat the Giants. There's your twist. 13 points they lost down, not my fault. Insipid football play. Cripps went down. They couldn't kick a goal. They should have won it. Yeah. I'm not taking any responsibility for that. That's a win in my book. Don't put
You're
6
an
beers
out-of-form
down.
Oracle.
Got a little crack in it.
I've had to recharge the crystals this week.
So just got the numbers there. Surprisingly, Daisy, you only got 11 wrong, so you owe 66 beers.
Is that the least amount?
That's not the least. Damo had 12. That was the most. You got 12 incorrect, so that's 72 beers.
That's good effort out of how many rounds? 23.
23.
Yeah.
I got 9 wrong, so I owe 54 beers. And Duck, you were the safest. You only got 8 wrong, so you only owe 48 beers.
And he'll drink the most too.
Plus a slab as a side bet, though.
The side bet between you and him. Throw that in. Oh, beautiful.
So this is Mad Monday that'll finish on Thursday.
Yes, and I'm not sure when we're going to have Mad Monday.
Still be a
By
quiet
the
day for
way,
Duck.
drink responsibly.
Always responsible.
We might have to organise one of Duck's meetings to get together and have this drink.
Only when we're allowed to, though, Joe.
No, we're not allowed.
No,
It's
let's do
80
it when we... Oh, no.
No.
Hey, let's have a look at the finals. The first qualifying final, Port Adelaide v Geelong, Friday night, Adelaide Oval. Just quickly, what are we expecting there with crowd, Damo? At the moment, 15,000.
At 15, there's been a hope all week, and it's a growing hope, according to some people you speak to, that there could be an increase by 10,000 up to effectively half capacity.
Okay.
Make it 25.
Oh, that'd be good.
Yet to be
you
locked
want
away,
it,
though.
You want
They need at least
25
20,
there.
half full, don't you?
Yeah.
Port Adelaide Geelong, Duck. Who can you see winning this one?
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to stick with the Cats.
Yep.
I reckon the Cats might upset Port. Port are going very nicely, by the way, but I don't know why. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I'm going to go with them.
I'm going to jump in there too and endorse Duck's views on the Cats. Of the 4 games, if you need me to have one team that I think is going to win, Joey, I think it's the Cats over.
Really? You're most confident on the Cats?
Well, I'm not confident on anything.
Right,
Look at my
that's the
record
most
out of the course of the
confident.
home and
That's
away
not my
season.
guarantee,
No.
But that's the one I'll put in this week as my most likely for what that's worth.
This will be a cracker. I was all up Port Adelaide yesterday, and the more I've thought about it, I just don't think they've still beaten anyone throughout the home and away season. They got done against the Dogs on the weekend. But
Doesn't mean anything, though, we just found out from Joey.
yeah, well, I'm saying the form is form, and their form, well, although they finished second, I'm going to tip them purely because it's at home, but I think it'll be a cracker.
I'm going to tip Geelong. Can I give you another little nugget with a stat?
Well, you could
Port
have done this
Adelaide,
before
when
I
they
gave
win
a tip.
contested ball, they've won contested ball 16 times this year. They've won 16 games. When they win clearances, they've won the clearance count 12 times. They've won 12 games. Problem is, Geelong, number 1 contested ball team in the comp. Geelong have only lost the contested ball 3 times for the whole season.
Wow.
I think the Cats will beat them in contested ball. I think they'll
You come
control
up with
the
some
footy.
nice little nuggets.
Just a couple little when they're relevant. I think Geelong will control the ball. Two different styles. Control the ball.
Yeah.
Cats be the chaos and the sort of surge mentality of Port Adelaide. I think Geelong's experience, and I know they'll feel the pressure. I think the Cats will get it done.
What percentage of Paddy Dangerfield's inside 50s kicked have directly hit a target and then resulted in a goal from rounds 1 through 7?
No, I haven't got that one off the top.
Okay.
What I do know
We
is
missed 3 games
Dangerfield.
with
What I do know is Dangerfield will play in the guts, and he will have a massive game. Hey, the Battle of the Bridge, Sydney GWS. For mine, I think the weather's going to play a factor in this. If it's wet and windy and cold in Tassie, that plays right into the Giants' hands. They'll get them in the trenches. They'll make it a bit of a scrap. But if it's a beautiful sunny afternoon, which we're hearing at this stage, then I think it gives the Sydney Swans every chance with their ball movement to dominate.
Yeah, I agree with that. I totally agree with that. But I'm tipping Sydney just because of the year they've had. And I think the X factor, all of that. But I agree, the weather will play a part.
Of all the teams that the Swans could have come up in an elimination final against, I think it's the one that they didn't want to face. But having said that, I think their consistency compared with the Giants across the course of 22 matches was better. And, yeah, I'll pay the percentages on that and go for the Swans.
I'm going to stick exactly with that. Although the Giants do have a good record, 2-0 in their short time in the AFL and playing finals. Beating the Swans twice, I think the Swans will be too good. I think the way they're moving the ball, just really sure out of that back line. So I think that'll be too good for the Giants.
So my certainty, can I?
Yeah.
So my certainty is Melbourne.
Melbourne.
Yeah.
We're going to go to Melbourne, Brisbane now. You're confident Melbourne?
Yeah, I'm going to go with
Defense beat offense?
Yep.
I agree with that. I think Melbourne will win this. I'm pretty confident, but it's not my certainty. Damo, Melbourne, Brisbane.
Daisy Thomas is.
Shut up, Damo.
The Oracle.
I'll jump in and go with Melbourne before we get to the Oracle.
I'm going to have to play this. No, don't play this string here. Melbourne.
Well done. That's it.
After all that,
That's it. You've got Melbourne.
let's go with a team that finished top of the ladder after round
Only
23.
conceded 9.5 goals on average last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Brisbane kicking 123 plus points. Offense v defense. The old classic one. Defense wins finals. Tick, Daisy.
Yeah. I think you might get the Oracle. I think he might have fixed his
I
little.
told you,
crystal ball.
charge the balls.
It's been broken for a while, but it might be back. Hey, my certainty is the Western Bulldogs to beat Essendon.
Ooh.
I know they've had 2 down games, but I think you got to look across the season. The Western Bulldogs are a better team than Essendon. I know the Bombers are in some form, but they've beaten Gold Coast and Collingwood the last 2 weeks. And that game against Essendon in round 21, Essendon v Bulldogs, if they play that game 9 times or 10 times, Bulldogs win 9. They had more.
Really?
They had 21 more inside 50s, Damo.
Yeah, okay.
They dominated that game. Essendon just shot the lights out from stoppage. Which
70 points
is a
from
bit
stoppage,
which is a bit of an
39
anomaly.
bounce.
It won't happen again. I think the Dogs will learn. I think they'll turn from being the hunter to the hunted. I can see the Western Bulldogs bouncing back, getting their mojo in the midfield. They are a certainty to beat Essendon.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm tipping the Dogs. Yeah.
I'm going to go with this as the upset.
You're going to go the Bombers?
I'm going to tip the
In
Bombers.
form. You spoke about form.
What they did against them the other week, where the Bulldogs have been horrific, is in the midfield. And there's 70 points from stoppage, 39 of that from centre square bounce, big 2-metre Peter up there. The Bulldogs' inability to score. I think this is the real pickle of the first round.
I'm going for the Bombers too, and it's on the back of Jakey Stringer.
Well, very good.
part of
The
that.
beauty of the game is that we've got no idea, let's be honest. We don't know
correct.
what's going to happen, and that's why we love it, and that's why we'll all be glued to our TVs this weekend to watch the footy. If you can't watch the TV, listen to the radio, because the first week of finals will be on Triple M and the Listener app, starting with Friday night's clash between the Power and Geelong with Howie, Das, Brownie, Jace and Damien Barrett from 6 p.m. Thanks for listening. This has been another edition of Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub.